Hi.
Hello. Welcome back to Shower Talk with Tina and Norm. Tina always just sits there. I'm waiting sometimes,
Well,
and it's
you have the
never.
voice.
I have the voice. I do have a voice.
No, you have the voice.
It's the voice. No. Welcome back, episode 57. Correct?
Episode
You looked that up,
57.
right? Yeah.
We did.
Okay.
We
Thank God.
verified this time.
Good. We're calling it. What are we calling it?
Meme farmer in the Dell.
Yeah, right. Because farmer in the
music.
Dell. Right. Yes.
Tell
Silliness.
them what it's about, Norm.
Well, it's about meme farmers, basically.
You've always loved that term.
It's funny because we're gonna talk about we're gonna read some memes today.
Absolutely.
And talk about meanings of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not out of topics, don't worry.
Oh God,
but
no.
sometimes we try to lighten it up a little bit, even though these are memes and they're meant to be serious
and thought-provoking.
Right. But there's a reason we're going to do them and talk about them. But first, we would be remiss if we didn't mention our sponsors, our friends at Soray Wellness at LA Tan,
Yes.
of course. You did some measurements today, and we'll get those back. We'll have some results probably for the next one, and we'll post them on our Instagram page and stuff. They took some pictures.
Absolutely.
But we both definitely lost some inches.
We did. And some body fat.
Yes. So if you call them up, if you're interested in doing that, or some red light therapy.
Which, by the way, is completely eliminated the dimples in my legs. And
Right.
I mean, like I remember I was like, holy cow, is this really
It's
happening?
gone, right.
Yeah. Plus you sleep better with the red light.
I have, yes. And we got off track for a bit, and we're trying to get that back on. But yeah, if you mention us, if you do the laser, obviously the Emerald laser, if you mention our show, Shower Talk, they'll give you, 10% off.
Yep.
Right.
They sure will.
That's not on top of if they have another deal going.
Correct.
They're going to give you the better of the two deals typically. But yeah, go check them out.
Absolutely.
It's
go for a
helpful.
free consultation. That's
Yeah.
what we did.
Ask questions, learn about it, do a little research.
Absolutely.
It was painless, no problems.
Nope.
It was very easy to do.
Yes, it was.
So if you have some qualms about it, you can reach out to us. Of course, we'll answer anything we can.
Of course.
We're not the experts.
Right. Nope. We just know our own experience.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so check them out. And then let us know if you go do it. We'd love to hear, what your results are, what you decided to do. That'd be pretty cool. So, yeah.
We always love the follow through. Love it.
Yeah, 100%. Always.
Closure. We all need closure.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what it is. I get enough non-closure in my life.
I don't know how you do
on a daily basis. It's a life of non-closure at this point.
Terrible.
So yeah, meme farmers in the Dell.
Yeah, so tell them what your whole thought on meme farming. You're the one that kind of coined the phrase, actually.
Well, I coined the phrase because there'd be times that Tina would send me a bunch of memes, right? And it would depend on what we had been talking about and where we're going with it. What was happening in our lives. They were usually pertinent. They're relevant to what we had recently talked about.
People all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think memes are helpful.
They can be.
Okay. They are not a replacement for therapy or doing the deep dive, right? Memes aren't going to heal you.
No, just because you read it and said you understood it and then you put it in your folder here or whatever, in your meme folder, but you don't actually utilize it.
Correct.
Or practice it,
right?
Yeah, then it doesn't.
They're worthless. They're worthless.
Absolutely.
So I did it because I would get hammered with some memes from Tina.
That doesn't sound like.
And I would, no. So I called it, meme farming.
I remember
because you're just sitting there, fucking scrolling. Because I know I've watched you do it.
I know.
Scroll, read this. Ooh, this is a good one. Scroll. Ooh, screenshot, crop, send it. Change the color on it, post it, put a song on it. Right?
Hell yeah.
And that's not. I'm not being hopefully I'm being humorous.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical of how you were doing it.
I know.
And I can say that honestly because for you, I've been here the whole time. I've seen how you utilize them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You utilize them to speak to other people because it spoke to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Thank
That's
you.
the extent of it,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to maybe help a person along the way, maybe needed to hear something today. And it's happened. I've seen people say, I really needed to hear that today.
I know. I love when that
right?
happens. Yep.
And it can be inspirational,
Mm-hmm.
motivational.
Mm-hmm.
It could be the catalyst for some sort of change.
The eye opener.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're meant to do.
Yes.
They're also meant to relate to people or help you understand, hey, you're not the only one.
Correct.
And if you think you're the only one, you need to find a different meme that tells you it's not all about you, right? Right?
Let me find that for you.
It's in there. I saw one earlier. So we're going to read some.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to read some and talk about the meaning we think behind some of them.
Yeah. Our interpretation.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I it's very important for people that are trying to go through a process. It's okay to use them to help you go through a process, but it's not a substitute.
No.
You need to do the work. You can't go post memes and then say you're healed.
No.
Because
you can.
But it's probably
everybody knows you're not.
not real.
Right.
It's not accurate. It's
when your
not
life
true.
is still the same because
Correct.
you're not doing the actual work.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a substitute. It will make you feel good in the moment, and it can be a catalyst. It can
Absolutely.
be a jumping off point, but it's not the end all be all. It's not the work that you needed.
Correct.
So yeah, I mean,
I
that's
feel like the
my
memes
thing.
are like the diet pills that promise you to lose weight,
right?
So you don't have to actually do the diet exercise
or the emerald laser, right?
It worked.
It did work. We did that, right? And we joke about that, but
I mean, it's just funny but we own that and acknowledge it. I mean,
but it's a jumping off point again.
Absolutely.
Those things are starting points or should be starting points.
Absolutely.
Not the fix.
Correct.
Correct. Plastic surgery, liposuction, those things aren't the fix. They're a temporary fix. For some things, they could be the fix because maybe using liposuction as the example, you may have some leftover fat that you just can't get rid of, but you've done all this other work.
Yeah.
Okay, go get it sucked out.
Yeah.
Right? Because now you're complete.
Right.
But most memes aren't going to do that for you. They're not going to. That's not going to happen. And I love them. Right? I like funny ones. Of course, that's where they all came from. There's so many that have been inspirational.
Too bad sometimes they fuck them up because they spell wrong and they're terrible with their grammar.
Worst ever.
It really is because you see some really great ones and you're like, this fucking idiot doesn't know how to spell.
Right. It ruins the whole emotion of the thing. It's hilarious.
Now your mind goes off into this guy's an idiot.
It is. They're stupid. And
I agree.
They kind of remind me of the Successories. Back in the day, remember?
From the 90s.
Because Successories were the pre-meme. Yes, they were the pre-memes.
Yeah, that's true.
And if nobody knows what we're talking about, it's those posters you see on the wall in a frame. It's got an eagle soaring through and it'll say soar, and then it'll give you some quote underneath or whatever.
Sure did.
And it was meant
Teamwork.
to inspire, right?
Yeah. Inspiration.
Right.
Yeah.
It's totally what
was.
It was. Right.
Yep.
Successories is what that was called. Silly. They were cool at the time.
We had them in my office when I worked in the mid.
I feel like the movie
2000s.
American Psycho, he had something like that in there. But anyway, not to get all bizarro, but yeah. So we talked about this a week ago. I thought this would be a fun topic to talk about and cover some of these. Tina has her phone that we saved them on. We're not that technologically advanced that we've got other things set up out here to read. We don't have teleprompters or anything like that. No. We don't even have stagehands that can hold up cards to show us anything. It's just us. Not yet. Never. It's just us. So we're going to probably pass the phone back and forth because my phone's the main phone in the middle that records all this stuff.
Hi.
So yeah, we're going to read some of them and see. Let's see what some of them are.
So let's start off with this one. How about this one?
Yeah.
Just because a decision hurts doesn't mean it's the wrong decision.
Oh, that's actually that's a really good meme.
Right.
That's a really good meme.
I know. It'll be my next reel. If you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. I do reels, and my music always matches with
That's
it.
correct.
So,
that's
yeah.
correct. So read it again.
Just because a decision hurts doesn't mean it's the wrong decision.
Right. That's correct.
Mhm.
I agree with that. I think that's very fitting for people that are stuck in, that's the thing about a lot of memes. It means a different thing to a different person at a
Mhm.
different time, because that one could fit into so many things, like work,
Mhm.
having to make a decision about leaving work.
Mhm.
And it sucks, but it's the right decision to make.
Yep.
Leaving a partner, that doesn't, or leaving a friendship that's not serving you, it's hard, but
It is.
it's a lot of times for you. And the key there, I think, if it ended with "for you" would be really good. Cricket's in here going nuts, standing on her hind legs, climbing on the chair, trying to get attention. It's like, what the hell?
But you know what's really funny too is, so yeah, I agree with you, and I think a big part of it is no one wants to ever hurt, right? That's why
No.
that's why so many people walk around unhealed, because
Yeah.
it's easier to be unhealed and miserable and status quo and um an asshole to everybody else
Yeah.
and blame everyone else and no accountability. It's so much easier because then you're avoiding hurt. The fucked up part is there is no way to avoid hurt because there's always going to be something that's going to hurt you no
Yeah.
matter what. You could try to keep running from it, but it's going to always hit
Right.
you eventually. And if you're always running from it and you didn't prepare yourself for it, it's like 1,000 times worse.
Right.
And if you didn't surround yourself with the right people around you that are there, to support you through that as well. You're all looking at each other and everybody's hurt and everybody's upset and
Right.
crying and whatever. And it's like, there's no level head. There's no, yeah.
There's no
Hurt
direction.
sucks.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it sucks to go through pain. It sucks to go through breakups, divorces, death, job loss of money, all the things. These things fucking hurt. They hurt our heart. However, it's also what helps build us stronger. That's the truth. I believe that to my core. That's not a meme, and that's not bullshit.
Right.
In my opinion.
It could be a meme.
But I'm literally
No,
saying
I know, and I don't think that meme is. I think we just briefly talked. Not briefly. We talked about this a little bit yesterday when we met with one of our fans, Jay, had reached out to us to meet with him. And talk to him about some of this stuff. And we had some great conversation yesterday with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thanks for listening, Jay. He's been going through our content like a fiend, which is amazing.
We love it. Thank you.
It's pretty cool. And hopefully it's helping him. We appreciate it. We talked about some different things with him. And part of that was, as long as you're okay with the decisions you're making, and you're happy with it, and you're aware of everything that's going on, and something doesn't work out, it's going to hurt, but it's okay.
Absolutely.
It's okay. You got to go through it.
Yep.
You have to be vulnerable in so many things.
Yes.
In order to progress, in order to move forward.
Absolutely.
And I think that applies there, but anyway.
So you ready for the next one?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I hate when people say, if you love me, you'll accept me as I am. Child, bye. Loving you doesn't mean tolerating your refusal to develop emotional intelligence and heal your dysfunction. If you loved you, you would do the work so people who love you don't feel forced to walk away.
Yeah. And it's funny. That should be child, bye.
I know.
Child, bye. Let me see it. So I agree with that. I think
unfortunately that's the one that has some wrong grammar in there. I made it the correct grammar as I said it.
Okay.
I believe that's true. I think that so of course I'm a very firm believer of of people being themselves no matter what. You know that everyone who knows me knows that that's the truth, right? Whatever that is.
Yes.
And I do accept people for who they are. However, sometimes there are people who will use that, unfortunately, as a justification to not be the best version of themselves, and they just want everyone just accept me for who I am. I steal, just accept me as a thief. I'm gonna cheat on you, just accept me as a cheater. Like,
Right.
that's how I perceive that.
Yeah.
So the child bi, I understand that.
Yeah.
Because you go ahead and do you. I don't have to be part of it. So I'm
Right.
not. I'll accept that you're a cheater, a thief, a piece of shit, whatever you are. You want to be those things. That's great. I am not going to participate in it.
Right.
Me personally. That's how I view it. How do you view it?
Well, I view it much the same way. This goes back to the conversations we've had where it's like, well, I'm just being honest.
Right. Exactly.
I'm just being honest. Or I'm owning who I am. This is my truth. Hashtag this is my truth. Like, this is saying the same thing, and it's
true.
Not entirely true. And if somebody goes through life saying this, yes, as people, as loved ones, we should accept our loved ones. But if your behavior isn't changing and
Right.
you're using it as an excuse to justify your behavior and saying, well, that's just who I am, that doesn't mean those people need to accept you and stay in your life.
Exactly.
They can also accept you and leave.
Correct.
You're
Love
right.
you from afar.
You were right.
Yeah.
You are a bitch. And have a great life.
Right.
Because I'm not going to participate in this
And I think people would be like, what? I
Right.
think that's potentially the slap in the face that the person who's saying just accept me like this needs to maybe make the changes they need.
Right.
Otherwise, they could be that way. They just don't get the access to all the people they potentially want. So.
Right. I agree.
Okay.
And I think that's what that
I think so too. That's what they meant.
Yes, 100%.
Well, what the child bi.
Right. They're just saying you're being
bye.
childish.
Yeah, right. See ya.
Right.
Did you find another one?
I did. I was scrolling through a bunch of these. Oh, you did that one just a second ago. One of these that I just saw here. I saw a couple of them.
Yeah,
They're
there's
awesome.
a bunch of good ones in there.
This one, when I read it the other day, when you sent it to me, is confusing to me.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
So
this will be good. Okay.
Help me understand this.
Okay.
So it says, and I always say these are my favorite, right? Because they always talk. They talk about the wrong man, or this man, or that man. It's always.
It could be a woman too.
It could be, but most of them are.
Well, that's because those are on women's pages
I know,
on
and
Instagram. So I know. Well, there's probably men's pages that do the same.
I don't know.
But
I'm not part of
Which
them
one? Which
because
one
I don't
is it?
participate in that.
Which one is it?
It says the wrong man in your life will teach you that you can do it all by yourself.
Okay.
The right man will know you can and still support you. And it has support you in italics, bold italics.
So this is how I perceived it.
Okay.
Because it was a thank you to you for that, right?
Okay.
So I did everything on my own. I'll tell the story. So because I lived on my own for so long before I married my ex-husband, I did everything by myself. I put furniture together. I hung things on the walls. I did the shopping up and down the stairs. Everything was by myself. Didn't care. That was my life. That's, that was me. And then, I met him and we moved in and then we got married and all this other stuff. And I remember he would say, I'm here to make your life easier, and he was making my life easier. And the funny part was he would never let me carry the groceries. We lived on the second floor of our condo and he would never let me walk upstairs. He'd say, okay, go upstairs and you could put the stuff away, but no, you're not taking anything upstairs. So he would tell me to go upstairs and he would carry all the groceries up. And he did that we were together for 13 years, right?
Yeah.
So then the very first time after he left, okay, because it went on even when we moved in, we were on the second floor of the apartment we were living in then. So the very first time I went to Sam's Club without him after he left, I remember looking over at the door like, and looking in the trunk and looking at the door like, fuck, now I got to carry all this shit upstairs. Like I had to learn all over again. And I went up the stairs and back down the stairs and up the stairs because I was carrying all this stuff. And I wasn't mad like that. I think I was more like upset with myself that I let myself fall into that. I was able to do it, and now I got used to not doing it. That now that I had to do it again, I was like kind of pissed off that I had to do it, even though it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But if you recall, when we got together, there were some things where I said to you, you know, because you want to do stuff for me, and I would say to you, I'm not trying to say that I don't love and appreciate and that you're trying to do things for me, but I don't want it to ever be where I'm in that place again where I get so used to having those things done for me that I don't know how to do them anymore. I get upset when I can. Yeah. And I also didn't want us to fall into, you were in a codependent relationship. I was in a codependent. Yeah, we were in participating. So that's how I read that is. You're saying that there's guys that teach you that you do it by yourself, meaning you got those, but then you meet a man who knows you could do it by yourself, but he supports you in letting you do things like you do. There's still things that you don't say, I'm going to do that for you. You'll say, okay, I know you want to do it, and you let me do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like that's how I read it. How did you read it? Does that make sense? Or
yes,
no? Okay.
Of course.
That's how I read it. I don't know if that's right or not.
But I don't know what's right.
If
that's
the person who wrote it, I don't know. But that's how I read it, is that it's a good man that supports a woman who can do it by herself and might still do certain things, but he doesn't feel threatened by her being able to be strong enough to do it on her own.
But why would it be the wrong man in your life will teach you that you can do it all by yourself?
Because the wrong man is not doing anything for you ever, and you're always doing everything for yourself all the time. The wrong man doesn't support you. He's making you do all the stuff. Whereas the right man knows you could do it, but would do it for you. The wrong man won't do anything for you. He's letting you do it on your own.
And I think the issue I have with this is this goes back to, again, part of the conversation we had yesterday, but you know, things that you and I have learned many times over the years, which is the difference between help and support.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
This says the right man will know you can do it all by yourself and still support you. Okay. What I don't understand is why it says still support you. I support the fact that you can do it all by yourself.
Right. But there's a lot of guys who can't. How is that
different than the wrong man is because he's making you do it. He doesn't offer any assistance.
Right. He's not doing it for you. You have no choice but to do it by yourself all the time.
Yes.
Because he's not giving you any support or doing anything.
Right.
So, and then you support, but there's others who won't. I was just talking to someone the other day who told me he likes that his wife is submissive. He doesn't want her. He likes that she does as she's told. Yeah. Which I wanted to throw up. But
yeah, it's not a term I like.
I know, but that was what he said to me. So so I feel like that's the way that I read that was you have the guy, you have the wrong guy who doesn't do any, like the ex-boyfriend for me. He did nothing for me ever. I literally did everything all the time. He never did a fucking thing ever.
Right.
Selfish, never did anything for me. So I learned and now obviously did everything on my own the whole time, you know, and then I meet my ex-husband who did things for me. And then I got too used to some of the things where I lost sight of what I can do for myself. You know what I mean? Like then you get a little confused and then you realize that there's a nice happy medium for someone that knows that they'll help you when you need it or support you when you need it, but then also let you be who you are on your own.
Yeah.
That's just my thought.
I don't take issue with your thought of it. I take issue with the way it's worded.
Yeah,
because maybe it's because I'm a guy. I don't know. But you know, going back to the help versus support for those that are listening, I feel like we might have touched on this before, talked about it before. But the difference between help is doing it for someone.
Yeah,
and you know, yesterday the example I used is if you have somebody that can't pay their bills, you help them by paying their bills.
Yeah.
Right. Or loaning them money to pay their bills. Supporting them is helping that you can help them get out of that position, but teaching them, the support is teaching them and encouraging them on how to not get back in that spot again.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're terrible at budgeting, right? Or they're new out on their own for the first time in their life and they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that's an extreme example. Maybe it's not. There's people that are like that.
Yeah.
But if you just keep bailing them out,
they never learn.
Right. It's like the teach a man to fish kind of idea.
But that's the codependency too.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the support part is support is not doing it for them. Support is lifting them up and helping them go in the right direction or pointing them in the right direction, but they're doing it for themselves. You're not doing it for them.
Do you know what I think support is? Quote unquote tough love.
Yes.
It falls in that category, right?
Yes, tough love could be a form of support.
Absolutely, because you're not doing it for them.
Right.
Because you don't want them to become codependent.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be completely dependent on you or someone else or completely, whatever the word I'm looking for. I can't think of it. But you want to, for that reason, you do what you can to support them that way, not doing it for them as much as you'd like to, because you and I are the people the fixers that want to go in, but you can't. Because if they don't learn the lesson and they don't do what they need to do, it's the pattern stays the same way.
Agreed.
So the tough love, and that's, again, my opinion, I feel like when it looks like tough, when they say tough love, you're actually showing that person how much you love them because you want them to get out of whatever that hamster wheel is they're in or whatever pattern they're in to move on to be able to take care of themselves. And although they might be mad or cry about it and you don't love me, you don't care and whatever, you have to be able to, that's breaking the cycle. Unfortunately, that's part of breaking the cycle.
It is.
Not everyone has the stomach for it, sadly.
Part of, and maybe I'm reading it with those eyes because that said, the right man will know you can and will support you, you know? And the other, okay. It's kind of the same, except the intention maybe is different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why when I read that, I go,
That's
fucking doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you know.
Well, and that's how I see why you say that, but that's how I interpreted it.
And I know sometimes you're sending me memes because they just resonate, right?
Well, for me, it was thank you to you for being supportive.
I totally understand that. I get that.
So, okay.
Of course.
So this one I thought was really super interesting. It's a little bit longer because it's a series of them.
Okay.
So this one is they always come back for themselves, not for you. They don't come back because they miss you. They miss the version of themselves they saw in your eyes. They miss how you made them feel, chosen, special, and valued. They miss how you silence their insecurities, soothe their loneliness, and soften the world around them with your love. Your loyalty feels like a safety net. It's always there to catch them when they feel low, lost, and lonely. They don't come back to show their loyalty. They come back to maintain yours. They don't come back because they've changed. They come back because they want more of the same. The safe presence of someone who would let them come and go as they please. Someone who would give them what they need without asking for much in return. Who would make themselves small and easy to please. Who would silence their own feelings to keep the peace. Someone who would accept them as they are, forgive every transgression, find an excuse for every sadness, and even though their generosity goes unreciprocated, you can give them what they can't give back to you because you don't believe that you deserve it. If you haven't been loved unconditionally, you struggle to believe that you should be too. I think that's unbelievable.
Okay. Why?
Because it reminds me of the people who keep going back and forth. It reminds me of people who make up, break up, make up, break up, make up, break up. There's always the one person that goes back, and that's why.
There's always the one person that allows them to come back.
Right. And so the way that I feel is that I'm the person that was like, okay, well, maybe, whatever. I'm the nicer person, right? And now when I read this, it was like poof, in my brain because now I feel like I'm the person. Now I see what the other person was actually thinking. They're trying to drink from my energy. They're trying to you know what I mean? Like when I saw the one about how they see them, how they want to feel how they felt when they're seen through your eyes, like when they know someone like myself or like you, that we love hard and we love real
Yeah.
and we love genuine, and when they see that purity of a person and they're like, it's like a fucking craving they have, like, so they shit all over you, take everything from you, and then they leave. But then when they come back, it's because, and then they it's the love bombing bullshit where they,
Yeah.
I'll never do that again. I
Right.
promise I'll never be
Right.
blah blah blah. Lived it, been there, done that. That gave me such clarity when I read that.
Most of those people are the people that can't be by themselves, period.
But that gave me so much clarity into the mind of the other person.
Yeah.
It was very eye opening for me as the person who would take someone back. That's the loyal person and all that. I mean, I was never a makeup breakup like a zillion times like that, but I mean, I did get back together after breakup. But yeah, it was,
I think
in
so.
hindsight, fucking stupid.
Right. Well, okay.
X is for a reason.
That's right. It's not stupidity. It's trust, and it's listen, it's not, we don't always make good decisions. I'm pretty sure there's one in here that says we make the best decisions with what we have,
which
right?
is true.
So it's not stupidity. It's, if anything, it's naivete,
kind of,
or ignorance as to what's happening because you don't see it or you choose not to see it. I don't
think
know.
the person's gonna change because you're,
or they show you that they have.
Well, that's the part that sucks, right? Is when you think they really. That's.
Well, I think for this, and I'm gonna say this long ass fucking series of memes.
It was, yeah. Sorry.
No, what are you sorry about?
I know it was a long one.
No, for me, this is, so when I see a lot of these, sometimes I'm like,
I know, but it was
too long, didn't read. The first slide says it all.
It does.
Right? So it says they always come back for themselves, not for you.
Yep. It
right?
does say it all.
And you don't know that until after you're done.
Yeah.
Right? And this is when you need to see it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The other things, as part of this meme, there's part of me that when I read this, I'm like, these things give them way too much credit. It makes them sound like evil geniuses, and I don't think half of them are fucking evil geniuses.
No, they're not evil geniuses. They're just manipulators.
Right. They're not evil geniuses at all.
They know. I think the thing is that there's a lot of them that know what they're doing, and then I think there's other ones that don't. They crave the feeling.
Yeah.
They crave the, like, remember Toxic's fun until it's not? They crave the chaos. They crave the back and forth, the chase,
some people
whatever bullshit. So
absolutely.
I don't know that necessarily the evil genius. I see what you're saying, and I don't believe that every single person who fits in that category is being evil on purpose. I know they're out there. I know there's people that do. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly that they're taking advantage of the person they supposedly love, which makes me sick. However, I think a lot of them just like I love how I feel around you. Like, I love that one says it all. To look through they want to see themselves through your eyes. Boom, right there. It says it all.
Right.
They want to be like, oh, look at Tina's got these really great rose-colored glasses, and she makes all these things look so. I look like a fucking rock star to her, and so I feel like that's what they feed off of.
Yes, I agree with that.
To me, that was like, okay. That's another one that makes me just realize that you don't give access to everyone.
Right. Right.
It's true.
I think there's a couple here that actually are pretty good. So I want to do.
Of course.
This one, I went backwards. So even the ones that we screenshot and saved, there's some others that just happen to be right here in your phone.
Yeah.
This one says, I think there's a point in your healing journey where you stop trying to convince other people to do the right thing. You just observe their choices, understand their character, and decide what you're going to allow in your life.
Yeah.
I feel like
it's true.
No, it's absolutely has to be true in your healing process, because a lot of times their decisions, other people's decisions, can affect you if you allowed them to.
Correct.
So when you've gone through the deep dive and the healing process and you're going through that, you can't allow their choices to affect you any longer.
And especially if they're choosing not to. I think the sad part is that some people, when they choose to be on this journey of healing and self-discovery, let's call it that. I mean, it's healing ultimately, but self-discovery, because I found a whole new person that I didn't know. I knew I was me. There's this whole other version of myself, like just amazing.
Right.
That it took so long to find her, but it was awesome. It took going through the shit and the hurt and the pain and all the other shit to find her, but that's why I say it's okay. You come out the other side eventually. You just have to put in the work and go through the pain. But I think the biggest part of that one is some people want, like, are you going to come with me? Are you going to go to the doctor with me? I'm going to get my tooth pulled. Will you come with me? Like, some people don't want to do things alone. And so the way that I interpret that one is that when you say let other people make their own decisions, I feel like it's like, when we have a friend who, she started the deep dive a long time ago, and she went so far off the path that she was so intolerant of everybody. So if you did anything that wasn't aligned with where she was all the way up here, she was like, go fuck yourself. I hate you. You're a terrible person. She was,
you're annoying.
Yeah. She was in a really, she went so far up there, like, woo.
Yeah, that for sure.
That's what I feel about that one is. So she wanted people to be there with her, and she wasn't giving people the opportunity to get there. And some people they're not even on the journey yet. She like didn't want to have anything to do with anyone that wasn't. And I didn't think that was fair, but she wasn't listening to me. And then that's when I was like, okay, you do you.
Right. There's actually a good example of that is when you and I were talking the other day, first thing in the morning, like I was driving up to see my mom, and you were driving to work, and you were aggravated with how people were driving and stuff, right? You were pissed off about it. And
that doesn't sound like me.
Again, I'm on the other side just driving, and I feel like because I've done it so much for so long that I don't pay as much attention to people driving like dipshits.
Yeah.
There are times I do.
Right.
And they piss me off, but not as much. Right. So what you were saying the other day, you're like, this fucking person. And I think that day, what I told you is, I feel like just like this other one, we're giving them too much credit.
Yeah.
You're assuming they're doing it intentionally. And a lot of times I really don't. Now, the bad part is what I said, because in this case it's important, and it's just as important as it is with people's emotions and feelings and that type of thing. You're in a 1 or a 2 ton car here, right? 1.5 ton car, whatever it is. I don't know weights of cars. So, you're in a moving object doing 80 miles an hour, and you're going through not fucking paying attention to everybody else around you.
Yeah.
Which means you are not showing any regard for the people around you.
Right.
So while I give them the pass that they're who knows what kind of day they're having, who knows what they've been dealing with all day long. If they had the same kind of morning, we don't know, right? We have no clue.
Yeah.
Some people, they are driving like assholes because they just want to drive like assholes. But some they're driving and it was accidental. They weren't paying attention. They're distracted, whatever the case may be. And to be fair to them, they're trying to get from point A to point B, and they got a lot going on. Yeah. We assume it's a slight against us, or we allow ourselves to feel like it's a slight against us. And it really isn't.
Right.
Most times there's people that are cutting in and out, slamming on their brakes, fucking with you, doing, okay, that's different. Right. And that, and you know what it stems from? It stems from their ego has gotten to the point that's so pissed off that you're driving slow in this lane and they can't get around you. And how dare you mess up their day? So they're pissed off at you. Right.
Right.
It's stupid. It's seriously stupid. And usually when I'm driving along and I get that pissed off at somebody, I feel stupid afterwards that I got that pissed off about
Right.
it. Like, fuck, why did I let it? Why?
I know, because it is a big waste of energy.
And this is a segue, right? My old martial arts instructor would talk about, he would drive down the roadway and, he was an accountant type guy. So he was kind of a dork in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And he would drive down the road, and he was an older guy. And he'd be a little hunched over and, he'd see somebody is pissed off because they're not going fast. He's not going fast enough for their liking or whatever. And they would get up next to him, be like flipping him off with stuff. And he'd look at him. He'd just wave like, oh, hey, sorry. And just keep on going. Like to try and, take the wind out of their sails. Like, oh, I'm stupid. My fault, And what do you do with something like that? Like you can't.
Some people get more angry.
Some people will get more angry, but a lot of people are like a fucking moron, and then they'll take off.
Going,
right? It's kind of a means of de-escalation.
Yeah.
Right.
Can be.
So that's just what he would do, and I bring him up because this next meme.
Okay.
Says I changed because I had found a second one, but now I found a different second one, so I found a third one. But it's gonna be my second one. It's. Next time you feel nervous about stepping outside your comfort zone, remind yourself, I feel fear because it's new, not because I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And the last part says, keep going.
Yep. It's true.
But so we all, especially when we're talking about deep dive and emotional journeys, because this is shit you're not used to dealing with.
Yeah.
Right? And
you've buried it forever.
And you're feeling, you've buried it forever. We talked about a little bit yesterday in our conversation. So much of the shit comes from your childhood. Like almost everything comes from your childhood. How you were treated, whether you were allowed to express yourself or not express yourself. The mentality of kids are meant to be seen and not heard, those kinds of things. If you didn't have that kind of upbringing, then you may carry some trauma or baggage or whatever that affects the way you handle things now, whether it's explosively, whether it's passively, no matter what it is, that may be what it is. But what I found interesting about that quote is the fact that it said, keep going, right? So my old martial arts instructor that I just brought up passed away a number of years ago. I miss him. His teacher would host these events in Japan where hundreds of people go train with them and this kind of thing. And he would get up and demonstrate I'm going to say technique. And the idea was, whether you believe in what they taught or not, it's a whole different story, right? There's this complete debate. It doesn't matter. The principles were applicable.
Yeah.
And that's what I really took away from a lot of that stuff. And what he would do is he would show some sort of movement, and then he would let everybody practice it, right? He called it playing. He'd be like, okay, play. And let them go mess around and figure things out. And that's because there were 1,001 ways to do one thing, because there's so many variables in this stuff. Especially if you're talking about an actual physical confrontation, it's not always going to go that this person's going to swing at you this way and that's how this is always going to go down.
Right.
You can't develop that many techniques. So people would ask him, well, if you do this or you do this, how do you do this? And he wouldn't answer the question directly. He would just tell him to keep going, because it really ultimately was a means of self-discovery, right? Maybe not necessarily about yourself specifically, but about what you have to figure out in that moment when it came to that thing. And it's practice, but you have to keep going. If you don't keep going and keep doing it, then... But it's frustrating when you're trying to get an answer and somebody gives you some cryptic fucking answer of, well, keep going. That's not what I fucking asked, right? Can you at least point me in the right direction? And then sometimes when you'd ask, even my friend Mark, when I would ask him, how do we do this? He's like, well, yeah, keep going. I'm like, I'm stuck. And then they would do it and you still don't understand it, but it hurts like holy hell the way they did it. And you're like, okay, now I'm more confused. But you eventually figure it out. So I feel like that's a mantra. And at the time, I didn't fully understand it. And maybe even until just now, that it really is about self-discovery. Like even yesterday when we were talking to Jay, I told him about keep going, and you have to keep moving forward, but it's even bigger than that.
Well, so I'll tell you, I'm a visual person, and it reminds me when you were talking about that actually is I used to work in over in Niles along the Des Plaines River. It was out in the back of my office, and my friend and I from work, him and I would go out there and walk around we take little breaks during the day, and it was a pretty heavy duty current that would be going through the Des Plaines River, just keep flowing. You could hear it and whatever. And one day he had a ball, just like one of those, kids balls you'd play kickball with and shit like that.
Yeah.
He had an orange ball and someone drew a face on it. It was like a big joke in the office or whatever. But one day he's like, I got to get rid of this thing. I think I'm just going to throw it into the river and let it go. So we went down there and he kicked it into the river. And it started going pretty fast down the river. And then all of a sudden it got stuck. There was like a pretty wide opening, and then there was like this little stick, and it got stuck, and the ball just kept spinning and spinning and spinning, and so mind you, it had like a face drawn on it.
Okay.
It kept spinning and spinning and spinning, and I just stood there and I looked at it. I couldn't stop staring at it. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I go, "That's what it fucking feels like in my head sometimes." Like, yeah. And so to this day, so I mean, that's going back like probably fucking 20 years ago. And I was like, that's how I feel sometimes when I get stuck on something.
Yeah.
And anytime I get stuck on something, I think about that fucking ball and how it's spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And I realized, okay, and I got to get myself out of that because I literally watched it spin, and it was so, all it had to do was move a little bit and it would have just went right down the water and gone away. But it was stuck on it and just kept spinning. So it's so funny when I think of it. So that's why I came up with, like, when we were doing our stuff of, all those years ago with Rob, my line was keep moving forward, keep moving forward. Because otherwise you either stay stuck on the little hamster wheel or like that ball, or you go backwards. And when you're going backwards, your goal of wherever it is you're going goes farther and farther away. Right. So that kind of, when you always have a choice. However, if you're looking for a different life, healing, and everything else, the choice is not to go backwards. It's to go forward. I mean, that's the reality.
And one of the things we talked about in a lot of our training for the martial arts classes was, because it was all about movement, moving in the right spot, your body positioning, all of that in relation to the other person. But the idea was you always had to keep moving your feet. So the saying was, if your feet stop moving, your heart stops beating. Oh, wow. Because you don't, you're done at that point. If you don't keep moving your feet to put a person out of position, in this case, then you're going to get caught and it's over for you. Wow. So, yeah, I know.
That's a crazy one.
Look at me.
So this one's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Maybe you're not asking for a lot. Maybe you're asking the wrong person.
Okay.
What's your thought on that one?
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good one for people sometimes to hear, because people, you catch yourself, I can use you as a great example of that. Okay. You will use the terminology jalapeno because you say that sometimes people have said you're too much. Or you told me this the other day, oh, you never know what's going to come out of Tina's mouth, and I know how you mean that. You mean that like, oh, I know people are worried about what I'm going to say and that I'm too much. and the jalapeno is too hot for some people, right? That's the analogy.
Well, you can only take it, take it for
Correct.
so long. And
right. It's too hot.
Yeah.
It gets to be too much if you have too much jalapeno. So in this case, oh, it's a different one. You just handed me the phone. I didn't know what it was. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you want me to read this one? I feel like the right person will listen to you, and you're never going to be too much for them. Right?
Not unless they're having like a bad day or the bad timing. I mean,
there's always caveats.
That's not how I mean it.
Right. I know. There's always caveats. So
of course,
to the wrong person, everything you do is too much.
I know.
It's too much. Oh God, why you got to do that? Why if you have a partner that is constantly trying to get you to do less or be less is the key. Yeah. Then what the fuck?
I agree.
That's not your partner. You are who you are. And this goes back to that one that says, well, you should accept them as they are. Yes. Okay. And maybe if that person is too much for you, then you need to have the fucking balls to go, it doesn't work for us.
That is correct.
It doesn't work for us.
That is correct.
A good example is we're watching Love Island, right? And we're probably going to have to do a bath bomb on this ridiculous shit to talk about how crazy it is. But there's a girl on there, Amaya is her name, and she is a whole lot. She's a whole lot.
She is.
She kind of started dating one of the guys on the show a little bit, and he just wasn't interested. And then she was kind of by herself for a bit, and now she's with somebody else, and he's, they kind of match, but then he just recently, she I think attaches quickly.
Yes. She does.
So, and he's feeling that, and he's trying to determine if he's just not used to that,
right?
Or if it's too much for him,
right?
And we found it interesting the other night. She asked him, she said something. He said, "No, I don't know if it's too much for me."
He was, and he was honest about it.
He was absolutely 100% honest about it, because he's trying to figure out, is it his thing?
Right.
Or is it not his thing?
Right.
And
that's, I have so much respect
for that. Me too. So
much respect for
the fact that he was able to say that
is this
to her.
Right. And he's like, I don't know if it's my issue or
and she was okay with it, as I feel like, I'm going to say the word should, as she should be, because that's the right response.
Well, yeah, because he's not pretending and talking shit behind her
back.
Who doesn't appreciate
and he's also not going along with it and saying, no, everything's okay.
Fine,
he's like,
so he could blow up her life later.
I feel like everything's fine. I'm just not sure if if this is if this is okay for me. I'm trying to figure that out.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't get any more honest than that. If you don't want to put up with that, then fine.
I would rather have that than have someone tell me to my face everything's fine when it's not, and then all of a sudden my life blows up.
Yeah,
because I've had that happen, and it's like a fucking blindside.
Right.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you gave me this.
I don't know. Do you like that? What do you think?
I don't know. Let's figure it out.
Okay.
You can tell me your thoughts on it. It says, maybe you don't belong because you're the bridge, the one who connects worlds, carries wisdom, and lights the way for others to cross divides.
I mean,
what?
It's funny because we had the conversation yesterday.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff yesterday.
I've never had a lack of friends.
Yeah.
Or people to hang out with, or people around me, or whatever. However, I've gone through a large portion of my life feeling like I didn't belong.
Yeah.
I didn't belong in my family. I didn't belong in groups at school. I didn't belong, you know, when I started working, and it wasn't like I didn't belong, like people were being mean to me or anything. It's not like I was being bullied or anything. It was just the way that I thought, the way that I talk. Even to this day, there's people who avoid me. And it's like, the funny part is I've grown to the point now where, first of all, it's okay because not everyone's going to like you. And you just, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because not everyone likes everyone. There's a lot of people I don't like. I mean, I'm not rude to them or assholes to them,
Yeah.
but I don't like them. So it's not about the liking part. It's about the fact that I finally got to a point once I healed that I realized that people who aren't on that journey don't want to talk to me because the things that I say are going to open their eyes. And once your eyes are open, you can't unsee what you've seen.
Right.
And now your whole life is blown up in front of you. And if you want to live ostrich syndrome,
yeah,
and you want to live with your head in the sand, and you're okay that you're spending your whole life with the wrong person in the wrong job, in the wrong neighborhood, whatever the fuck it is you're doing, just status quo, just surviving, whatever. Again, your choice. However, I realize that that's why a lot of people don't want to be around me, because I'm not afraid to have those conversations. I'm not afraid to talk about the things that have happened to me in my life.
Right.
I'm an open book for people. I have nothing to hide. And there's actually a lot of things that a lot of people have no idea about me. They think I'm a certain way. They've never taken the time to ask me any questions or know the shit I've been through, the stuff I've dealt with, that kind of shit. The thing is that I've been told that my whole life. I'm a pebble, I'm a lighthouse, I'm a connector.
Yeah.
All those things. So it kind of made me laugh. And that kind of made me feel kind of good, because it's almost like it sucks to say you quote unquote don't belong or whatever. However, I do belong. I belong in lots of different places.
Absolutely.
It's maybe one whole part of me doesn't fit in one place, but now I realize. So it's funny how when you're younger you don't think about it and you're like, I don't belong. Now it's like you understand that you're sprinkled a little bit everywhere because you're doing all these things to make the world a better place. Yeah. That's the way I interpreted that. Right. I thought that was actually pretty cool.
No, I agree.
That one resonated pretty good with me.
Well, so if you think about it, and I'm not trying to put this on anybody, I'm not trying to say anything. When people listen, like if you call someone something or you label them something, they're like, really? You think that, right? So in this case, it says maybe you don't belong because you're the bridge, the one who connects worlds, carries wisdoms. Like you can relate this to shamans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
June.
Yes, right. Anybody that is I don't want to say vibrating on a higher level, because it sounds very hippie-ish. But
although it's true.
But it is true. But people seek those people out to gain wisdom, gain insight, so many things that they try to get from those people, but they're not there for those people.
Yeah.
Right. They're there for something from those people.
Right.
And both of those things aren't bad. Okay. The only time they're, and you probably would agree with this because you have no problem with sharing with people that are trying to grow and learn and understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the part that's difficult for any one of us, I would say, but especially for you, a lot of times for me, is when they keep coming back to the well and they're reading memes and they're not applying them.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
which is why we did this today.
Right. They're not taking the information and actually letting it sink in. They see it and they go, oh my God, this is so me.
Yeah.
This is so me. Oh my God, look at this. This is me right now. They text it to all their besties. And they're like, oh, look at this. This is so me. This life's been so hard. This totally describes me. And then tomorrow they wake up and do the same fucking shit they've always been doing. If that's you, fucking fix it. Or start working to fix it. I know it's not an overnight process. No. I know it's not quick. So when I say that, I'm not being
get over
unsympathetic,
it.
right?
Or dismissive.
Right. I'm not being dismissive, saying, but if for the last 2 years you've woken up every day and you found a new meme and shared it with everybody because it's totally describes you, #me, you got a fucking problem. The problem is you're addicted to memes and you don't know how to fucking fix your problems.
Maybe that should be it should be addicted to memes.
Addicted to memes. Might as well face it.
We're changing
addicted to memes.
We're changing it. It's going to be addicted to memes.
All right. So anybody that started this show an hour ago, 1 hour on the dot. That was a pretty good call on my part.
Yep.
1 hour ago,
we changed the name.
We may be changing it. Yeah, because we can. So what we said in the beginning, just disregard it because we don't edit. We're not changing it. And tough shit. It's our show.
Who cares?
Thumbs down for us.
And you could say it in the thing. We changed the name.
Right. So this one, after I read that, I scrolled to the next one here.
More?
Yes, I want to do 2 more.
Okay, yeah. I'm
so
good
this one, let's talk about this one real quick,
Yeah.
and then we'll do one more.
Of
And I
course.
only liked it.
Yeah.
They say you kept showing up for someone who wouldn't even check in. That's not love. That's self-neglect disguised as loyalty.
Yeah, that's a deep one.
Yeah,
That's a deep one.
it is. It's
It's
this is one of those you have to read and
Read it
sit
again.
on.
Yeah,
You
read
have
it
to
again.
sit on it. And I don't mean put the phone under your ass and hope it absorbs or sleep under your pillow. It's you kept showing up for someone who wouldn't even check in. That's on you, right?
Yeah.
That's on you. You kept showing up for them and you knew they weren't doing
Right.
it.
Right.
That's not love. That's self-neglect disguised as loyalty.
Think of all of us that say how we're loyal people and how many people would read that and go, fuck.
A shit ton.
I could think about it for myself in the
A
past.
shit ton.
I could think of some of my relationships in the past where that I fit
100%.
that bill 100%.
100%. It's terrible.
That's a deep one.
Well, you have to know. Oh, that's actually a good one too.
Okay. I got nowhere to be. Keep going.
You're so funny. It's funny that I see these and there's a few.
I know there's a lot of really good ones
in here.
That's why I've been trying to save them for this episode.
I know. We'll have to save some more. I think I lost track of the one that I really liked before, but I feel like you have to that one is one I can't even tell you how to
Yeah.
Actually I found it. The other one. So this one was narcissists change partners to avoid changing themselves.
I know.
And I think this would be where I don't ever encourage anybody to discount someone based on their history, right?
Right.
We'll use the word body count, right? Because watching the show, we've seen some of these people on these shows that have slept with a lot of people in their time. Could they be a narcissist moving on from partner to partner or whatever, or doing something? Yes, they could be.
Non-committal people.
Otherwise,
too.
maybe they're not at that point yet, right? But this one basically is an easy way to try and see if there's a red flag with somebody. If somebody has a bunch of people that they've lived with and been with, for periods of time, you need to try and find out why.
Well, and also if it's always the other person's fault when they're telling you the story,
Yes.
and there's never any contributions from them, that all their relationships failed because of the other person.
Yeah. I agree. But it's an easy way to figure out a red flag. Just because somebody's had those
Right.
experiences,
Right.
doesn't mean it's maybe they weren't a narcissist. They were what do I want to say? A fixer. They're a fixer of people, and they find one, and those people leave them. An enabler. There you go. That's the word I could not come up with. They may be that person, and they get taken advantage of. So just because somebody has it doesn't mean they're a narcissist, right? They don't know how to find a person that actually values who they actually are.
because they don't value themselves yet.
Correct.
And the narcissist knows that you don't value yourself.
Yeah, those happen to them.
And those are the ones they're fishing for, by the way.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
We may have just written our own meme. Okay, last one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this last one is...
I might want to look through.
Oh. Okay.
Go ahead.
This last one, because it's a positive one.
Of course.
So I figured we'd want to end on a positive.
Absolutely.
It's keep in mind... Actually, here. No, you can read this one.
No, you do it. You
read it. You read it. I had to read the last couple.
Oh, yeah. Keep in mind there's a clock ticking that we can't see. Love whoever loves you and enjoy life.
Yeah.
I posted that one the other day with a reel.
I know.
Yeah, that one's a really good one because we all think that we're going to live forever.
Yeah.
And we think we have all the time in the world, and we don't.
Right.
And we waste a lot of time on dumb shit, petty shit, dumb shit, arguing, shit that doesn't matter, around the wrong people. And a lot of times we overlook the ones around us who are there and show up for us every day. And then we're upset and say that no one's around. No, I don't have anyone. And you're like, you have people. You're just not appreciating. You want someone else, or you want other people. And then, so you have to look at yourself when you're looking at that. The
only thing maybe that I would caution people with on that is if they're not doing that and paying attention to those that are around them. Because some people will come into your life and they do love you. And they love you dearly and deeply.
Absolutely.
But they're not there your entire life. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't give them your time, right? Or your love as well. They may be there for a while and then lives change, whatever happens, they may not be there again. And then there's also those people that do come into your life that do love you. And if you neglect them, they're not going to stay around.
Right.
They're not going to stay around. So your life is going to go by and you're going to have a lot of regrets that you didn't take care of those people and love them. And realize you missed out. You missed out on opportunity, whether it's a friend, whether it's a lover, family member, whatever it is.
True.
It's very, very important to pay attention to that.
I think this will be a good one.
Okay.
Detach, let it end, wish them well, let it hurt, let it be accepted, let it heal, let it go, and move on.
Yeah.
That one's fucking genius.
Right.
And that can be for anything, not just a relationship, not just a love relationship, friendship, family, coworker, job, anything.
Right.
And when you say, I'm over it, really be over it.
Right.
Those aren't just words. You have to feel and know and accept that you're over it.
Yeah.
Which is
I agree.
Is good.
You good? Nice. No, I agree with you. You have to. So when it says detach, it doesn't mean be unfeeling.
Correct.
Okay. It means remove yourself from it.
Yep.
Disconnect from it, but don't become disconnected from everything else. Now, there may be a point in time in your life where you have to do that for a little bit because you have to figure things out, but you can't stay there. Right. We talked about this before a couple episodes ago about isolation or self-isolation.
Yes.
It's okay to become good with yourself and heal, but we need people. And if you hide in your house or you hide away from people or whatever, you're never going to find the people that you want because you're not putting yourself out there.
No.
So you can't expect to have that change and have that in your life unless you actually go out there and participate.
Correct.
And we're not talking about, it doesn't have to be all day, every day, this is my goal. I'm going to do this. I mean, if you want to go do that, then figure it out. Right. But you can't expect it to correct itself if you're not putting the effort in.
That's the word.
To let it correct itself and work towards it.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's the only, if I'm going to pick on something with that meme, people need to understand what detach means. And I think most of these people do.
100%.
I'm not wanting it to sound preachy, like I understand this meme better than somebody else. I don't.
No, but I love interpretations because that's how we learn.
Detach.
Is hearing different things.
Remove
right?
the emotion or remove yourself from the situation
and accept it. That's what I like is how all the words that are in there.
Yeah.
It's like the steps of.
Yeah.
It's okay to move on.
Right.
You have to move on. You have a choice, but in reality,
yeah,
to live your life, moving on is your only choice.
For sure. And I think it makes me think of the Friends episode. I know we've referenced Friends before, but when Rachel tells Ross, she says, "No, we're never getting back together," or something along those lines. Accept that. He goes, "Accept what?"
Except
and she
that
goes,
what? Yeah.
"No, accept that." And that's what that's
Yeah.
basically saying. No, you have to accept it, not accept this. Accept it.
Yep.
Bring it in. So.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
I think what would be great is if people, maybe we can do on our Facebook and Instagram where we can invite people to share
Some of their favorite
memes that
Yeah.
have helped them, or they share with other people, or that
Yeah.
have encouraged them. And
I would
maybe
love-
we'll shoot a couple of them on there too.
I would love to see if some people, maybe we'll start a post and see if people want to share a couple memes that they keep around,
Yeah.
that they refer back
I've got
to,
some that I
and don't be offended if we kick it back to you and go, how have you actually implemented this in your life to
Yeah.
make you better?
love it.
Because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's okay to read these things. It's okay to find some connection with them
Mhm.
that helps you heal, as long as you're doing the work to actually help yourself
And it
heal.
might be something you already know or already knew or already heard. Sometimes it's like the timing.
Yeah.
Like maybe you fell off your wagon of doing whatever you were doing, and then all of a sudden, boom, this meme, and you're like, oh shit, I really needed to hear this today, or
Right.
it kicked me back in
The
the
light
butt
bulb.
to right. I
Yep.
mean, sometimes it's just a nice, friendly reminder, and then other times it's a different version of something you already know,
Right.
but it's spelled out a little differently. The words are a little
Right.
different, or there's something added to it, or again, you change as a person and you're in a different place in your life where you're like, oh,
Right.
you might even see it differently. I've gone back and looked at some and go, like when I was going through my divorce, and I mean, just like everyone else, I was posting like positive stuff and then
Right.
some negative stuff and then some positive stuff and then some negative stuff. And that's how people know typically what's going on, right? You start to see people's
Right.
posts,
Their
oh, they're
patterns.
going through a breakup, I think.
Yeah.
But some of
fucked
them I
up.
go back and I look and I'm like, I call it pre-June and post-June, right?
Yeah.
You hear me say it and I'll read and go, why did I save this? Or, oh, I'm reading that differently now, or
Right.
whatever, so, and I deleted a lot of them because I was like, and not just both positive and negative, like I'll read and go, doesn't pertain anymore, or I'm not that person anymore. I grew past it. I don't see the value in sharing it anymore. So I've deleted. So I think that's helpful too with the memes.
Yeah, me too.
So
anyway,
yay, good idea.
Yeah.
This was a good idea.
It was a fun one.
It was.
Yeah. I like
so
these
thank
topics.
you. Yeah, me too.
Sure.
It's fun to do something a little
different.
Brought up, but it also brought up a lot of really good, just like everything else, it brings up the discussion, the differences, and the deeper meaning behind some of them. People are probably like, oh, I just read this and look at them. They're like digging in. Right. We got our shovels and we're digging in.
And I think it's pretty cool too, how so many of these that we talked about today actually related to a lot of the stuff that we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not even intentionally.
Yeah, no,
right?
I know.
It just happened to be that way. So,
well, I think a lot of them is something that happens to people on a daily. It's just, again, hopefully that people know they're not alone. You always have us to listen to.
Right.
You can always reach out to us. You know, we do appreciate the support so much. We appreciate the kind words. We appreciate the comments. We listen to all of it.
And how do they comment, Tina?
Oh, well. So YouTube, right? They can put comments on YouTube, which we appreciate. Real Shower Talk. Yeah, that's
Tina
right.
and Norm. Yeah.
And then we have an email address,
mm-hmm.
realshowertalk@gmail.com.
Yes.
Which, thank you. We've received some emails there as well. And then Instagram is real.shower.talk.
Yep.
And then we got Facebook.
Right. Which is Real Shower Talk.
So, yeah.
Even though we call it Shower Talk, it's Real Shower Talk because some other sons of bitches took the actual Shower Talk.